All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Monday. Welcome to the show. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Happy, beautiful spring morning. All the windows
Yeah.
are open, so if people hear birds,
Birds are chirping.
yeah, I'm not closing the windows for this. I
We don't have birds, but it sounds like we do.
don't think anybody would mistake that for birds that you would have at your house.
I don't know. I might be like, wow, do you have
Parrot
pet birds?
doesn't sound anything like a bird you would.
I don't know what a parrot sounds like. I've never owned one.
Okay. I guess let's move on because we're going nowhere fast. So going down a spiral quickly. We're talking about birds for some reason. Anyways, if you hear background noise, it's so nice. I refuse to close the windows. We normally do, but soon it's going to be summer and people are going to be mowing their lawns or people are going to be outside with the dogs barking. And you know what? The birds in the background, if the audience can even hear them, is a small trade-off, I think.
Yeah, fresh air is great.
So no, we don't own birds. All right, anyways, we always start with our
Opening takes.
So let's dive into opening takes, Jen.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure. I don't care.
Okay.
It's up to you.
We had our first team outing for 2026. And the way we set up these is every year they look different. Sometimes they're more technical based, sometimes they're just for fun. This year, Todd and I wanted to focus more on wellness, well-being, and show our staff just how taking care of your bodies can just really help even your mindset. So we organized a yoga night, found a great place town over, and got a private, basically group for whoever wanted to join us. Side note, our son got sick, so Todd had to bail. Not so sure if he was that sad about it. But Gwen had asked me at the beginning of their spring vacation for some just girl time, some one-on-one time. So this was a great opportunity to hit both things. So when I got home from work, I had said to Gwen, do you want to come to yoga? And she's like, I was going to ask, but I didn't think you'd say yes. And I said, why don't you come? Because Dad's staying home and there's a space for you. And then we get girl time on the way there, on the way home, and then doing yoga. So it's very cool. Our team totally loves Gwen, and she's just so fun to be around. The yoga itself, I feel all of us enjoyed doing the yoga, but there was something about just all of us being together, doing something together. And at the end, you always wonder when you organize an event, or at least I do, are people going to even enjoy this? Is it going to deliver with what our intention was? And every single person it hit. And they were like, that was amazing. I'd love to do that again. I needed that. That was great. Thank you so much. So sometimes your team outings don't need to be salon specific. They can be other things. And yoga for us was fantastic. And like I said, it hit 2 marks. Our team got to get out and get together. And then my daughter and I got some one-on-one time.
Nice. Excuse me. So my opening take is definitely based on salon related things. I saw a post that was basically like, I have 2 people working in my salon. They're booth renters. And something about equipment, like I purchased equipment and I'm not sure if it's fair to charge each booth renter the same amount because one is really busy and one is not busy. And so someone in the comments, and I disagree with this 1000%, which is why I'm using it for my opening take, but someone in the comments was like, you could give the slower person 6 months at a reduced rate to help them. And I thought, how the hell is that helping them? How is that helping them at all? That's such a poverty mindset to me, where you want to do the least amount of work, or you want a handout, or you expect that a handout is going to help somebody. And I'm not anti helping people. There are times where people struggle in life. They need help, whether it's they need shelter or food. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this person chose to open a business, probably doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't have any clients. And what do you think is going to happen at the end of 6 months? They're still not going to know how to get clients. Maybe the answer is to stop giving stuff to people for free and instead show them how to succeed. Maybe you should, for the next 6 months, show them how to build a clientele. Don't you think that would be much more valuable than 50% off? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I understand, again, where people are coming from, but that's what keeps people down. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of 6 months, they're likely going to be in the same situation because No one ever helped them learn how to build a business or build a clientele or do marketing or put together a newsletter or whatever the things that they actually have to do to grow. And so it just confuses me / irritates me because it's not the answer. If you want to lift people up, you have to lift them up, not give them a reason to stay down.
Nice.
Thanks. Let's dive into this episode. And I didn't even get into what we were talking about, which I normally do before we get into opening takes, but you threw me off with the birds and the fresh air. But today what we're talking about is why owners and stylists misunderstand each other. What's going on there? What is some of the disconnects that we see or that we've dealt with or that whatever exist in the industry? I think one of the biggest disconnects in the salon world is that it breaks down to communication. Owners think that they're being clear with stuff, and stylists feel like they're being controlled. And the other thing that is probably in my notes somewhere, but not at the top, is I think stylists look at owners traditionally as greedy.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you seen that? And I think that's where this whole booth suite rental thing came from, right? I want to keep all my money. And we're going to talk about why that doesn't even make sense.
Correct. Why?
And honestly, I think most of the time, neither of these sides are wrong. I think that it breaks down to people just don't know how to communicate what's going on and what they're supposed to be doing, partly because maybe the owners don't even know what they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not doing it. And from the staff side, I'm not exactly sure, but I think a lot of it breaks down to communication. And the reason that I feel that way is because when we started breaking things down from very early on with Hello, our staff seemed to buy in, they seemed to understand, and they seemed to get with the program. Right. And I don't mean that in like a militant way where it's fall in or you're fired. It's just people buy in when you treat them correctly. All right, let's talk about money. I think that's the first one probably, Jen, right?
I would agree. Yeah. I was trying not to jump in because I wasn't sure what you had first, but yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Do you want to start? I have a bunch of notes, but you...
I can, and then you can kind of go through it. So this is, I would say, extremely important to understand and not something that I, until Todd and I opened Hello, could explain to staff. So it is often that staff will come in and be like, I want a raise. I want my commission higher. And we see it all over the Facebook posts. Like, so-and-so has a clientele, they want more money. So here's where the disconnect comes into play. They don't understand how the commission breakdowns work, even if they think they do. And you don't understand how to explain to them where the money is going in your business and that their commission rate, even if it's 40%, 45%, whatever it is the biggest chunk of the money taken out of the business. And what happens is the stylist looks at us, even if you're 50-50, we're even and I do more work than you and I do this and I'm paying for this. I had people say to me before, I pay for your house. And I was like, no, you do not. I pay for my house. But a stylist, as they see this commission rate, if they don't understand the breakdown of the rate, they get salty and they think things are true that are not. But it is your job to break down all of the percents and where they go in the business. And it's yours to explain it so that they understand they're actually walking home with the most amount of money. Todd does this fantastic. And it has made a huge difference in the meetings we have and where the money is, and that the stylist now understands they're the quote unquote breadwinner in the business. And it has to be this way or the business will fail. And we explain all of that. And once they truly understand it, that conversation never comes up anymore.
Yeah. One of the things that I think influenced that, Jen, is this trend. And I saw this recently where a commission salon owner said, stop giving away the majority of your commission to the owner. Come here and you only have to give us a lower commission. And I was like, that language is harmful because, first of all, we're the ones signing the checks. Our staff isn't giving us anything. We're giving that. I don't mean that in anything, but our staff isn't giving us money. We're paying them. Right. They're employees. And our staff would explain it to you. I wish we had someone here right now because they would explain it to you and I wouldn't even have to. But yeah, when you're a commission employee, you're not giving half of your money away. That's not how that works. You're getting paid a paycheck.
Right.
So I think that language is harmful, and I think it's deliberate because people are either trying to undercut or they're trying to get people to leave commission salons because for some odd reason they think if everyone goes rental, I'll be right or something. I don't know. But you see that all the time. People that are like, you have to go rental. It's the only way. It's the only way. It's not true. I would argue that we have staff that make more than a big chunk of people that rent.
I absolutely would say yes on that. That's a fact.
And I would argue that they're going to continue to make more,
Correct.
where it's going to become exponentially different over time because
Yes.
we push them and we're the ones that decide. So they can come, like a staff member at Hello can come to us, and if they're really booked and really productive and it's time for them to have a raise, they could go, oh, I'm comfortable where I'm at. Yeah, cool. That's cute. I don't care if you're comfortable.
Right.
Because if you're comfortable, that means complacent. And if you're complacent, that means you're regressing by definition. And we don't want that on our team. So we're going to push you regardless of what you necessarily want.
Mm-hmm.
And
We have staff at price points that are like, I would never have got here without the push.
And in a booth renting
business.
situation, I don't think that you get that. So I think that
they're so afraid of raising their prices, they're going to just stay stagnant.
Right. I think that language is what creates that friction between owners and employees. And I think that if people use the correct language, that they would have less of that friction. I think stylists often hear things like they want percentages and productivity and retail goals, even though we don't necessarily have that in our version of meetings and pricing conversations. And they feel like owners only care about money. But if you flip it from the owner's side, and this is where the disconnect comes from, because you guys, as an owner, you're looking at a completely different set of problems than an employee would be looking at. So if you're an employee listening, you're like, yeah, those things, that's it. But what you're not seeing is the other side. So Jen said payroll. Within payroll, you have your payroll taxes, you have your payroll, you have your costs just to have payroll, you have whatever fees, all this stuff is coming out. You have rent, which rent is a huge chunk of what's happening when you own a brick and mortar business. So when you have a physical location, people think, oh, it's just rent. It's not just rent. You have your base rent, yes, with a commercial lease, but you likely have CAM, which is another cost. You might have triple net, which is your insurances and taxes that are included. You have rent escalations, which are going to happen over whatever, usually after maybe 3 years, and then every year after that. You're going to have lease terms. So how long are you on the hook for? You're going to have things that you're responsible for, such as maintenance to plumbing and HVAC and electrical and all those things within your walls that you have to pay for. Let me tell you about plumbing bills. You want to know about the $6,000 to $8,000 we just spent or whatever on maintenance? Do you know what I mean? This is all stuff that adds up. You're talking about all sorts of stuff. What about risk assumption? So there's likely going to be a personal guarantee on that. So that means you are solely responsible for everything. If everything goes wrong, you are at the end of it. You're also talking about water, sewer, trash, internet, signage, pest control, alarms, security, snow removal, all that stuff. That is 1,000 paper cuts over the year, right?
Yeah.
Some places you're dealing with parking, which seems to be the new thing. But if you're in the city, you're dealing with parking. So I think there's a lot more to just saying rent, because people are like, oh, you just have to cover the rent. That's not even close to true.
Right.
That's just under rent. What about taxes on everything that the business has to pay for? What about education? What about when it's slow? What about when everybody takes off at the same time? What about making up for a bad hire? Something that cost your business money. We haven't even got into products. And an owner is responsible for keeping that entire thing alive. So
every day,
when you, as a stylist out there, just have a little bit of compassion, because that can be stressful. And a lot of owners jump in from what we've seen, from what we've talked to over the years. A lot of owners jump in and they haven't considered more than maybe two of those things.
Right.
And they certainly haven't considered it in detail. So just show them a little compassion. Owners, on the flip side, I would say, be able to break that stuff down, be able to talk about that stuff. You don't have to give them a profit and loss sheet. That's not their business really to look at. But you can explain where dollars go. I used to use poker chips, and I used to have a stack of poker chips, and I would say, this is $1. And then I would break it down. This is where this dollar breaks down to in our business. And I would move it into different piles, and they would look at it and they would go, oh, wow, I still have the biggest pile. And that's what Jen was talking about earlier. But be able to have money conversations with people, because I think that's where probably the biggest friction point and disconnect in this industry is.
That was a game changer when you were able to explain that to staff, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, you're like, I don't know how to do that, then that's where you'd reach out. Todd couldn't quickly go over that with you and explain. He doesn't even need to know anything about your business, but how to break down the model that we use to show them, but also it would show you.
Yeah. A lot of owners don't even realize it, because if you're somebody that's a visual person and you are looking at a numbers sheet, that's not going to make sense to you unless you practice, unless you read the number sheets, unless you have somebody teach you, unless you know how to look at a P&L and break it down. And there's tons of help out there. You don't have to reach out to me. Our distributor, they do stuff with people with P&Ls. They help them understand stuff and break stuff down and understand where your money is going. You have money coming into your business and money going out. How do you control that? And how do you get your dollars, more of them, to the bottom so that they stay in the business? And then you choose what to do with them, whether that's taking profit at the end of the year, reinvesting, or whatever. But when you start to look at that stuff and actually understand it, like truly understand it, then, and I don't even think I understand every single thing about business, don't get me wrong. But because I look at it and study it and look at it every single month, it's easy for me to go, no, this is how it is. Mm-hmm. I think both sides should show a little bit of compassion to each other. On the flip side too, and I think I already flip-sided once, but owners, look at your staff and understand that they don't understand that stuff. So give them a little compassion too. They don't know what they don't know. And why would they? You should be protecting them from those stresses. That's why they're employees.
Right.
I think a lot of times too, people think owners are just focused on profit when the majority are focused on surviving.
Yeah.
And
literally most are just treading water.
Yeah. And owners aren't out there trying to squeeze everyone for every last penny, but they're trying to protect what they're building, and they're compassionate maybe to a fault about it sometimes, because it's their everything. It's their livelihood. It's what they love to do. It's what they're passionate about. They got into hair because they wanted to do hair. Now they thought the next step was business, but they didn't realize that's a completely separate thing. And now they're super stressed out. That's usually how people find us, is they reach out because that's where they are.
Yeah, I think when you see owners stressing about every little penny, as I think you put it, Todd, that's because they need every little penny just to pay the bills to get through that month. And they're not going to tell you that, but most salons,
left.
Right, no, most salons are not profitable, which means majority of them need every single bit coming in just to get through that month, just to stay treading water and not feel like they're falling underneath. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next thing I had was fairness. So everyone's got their favorites, right? Just kidding.
Yeah.
So look, this is why things don't always look equal across the board, nor should they, in my opinion. But it's something that creates resentment. And an employee might see someone has a little more schedule flexibility. Someone has a little more trust. Somebody's progressing faster. Somebody seemingly is getting more opportunities. And you start to think as an employee, why are they getting that? Why am I not getting that? On the flip side, what the owner is looking at is that trust was earned. These people are consistent, so I can count on them. Mm-hmm. They're looking at responsibility. They're looking at who's contributing. They're trying to see things, or a leader, whether they're the manager or the owner, is trying to look at things in a full context, not just in a vacuum. So I'm not just looking at, oh, this person gets this opportunity. It's why were they chosen for that? Why was that offered to them? What did they provide to the business before they got that opportunity? And I'm not saying that favoritism in a negative way doesn't exist out there, because I'm sure there's plenty of places that have mother-daughter teams or whatever, where it's probably just awful.
Mm-hmm.
But fairness and equality are not the same thing. Because at Hello, everyone has the same opportunities, but some people show up more. Just how it is. Some people are more
Some people
reliable.
put in a lot more effort.
Yeah, some people put up more effort.
Yeah.
Usually that freedom that people get is it follows the responsibility. And Jen, you usually say something about responsibility with trust or freedom with responsibility or whatever you say.
I feel like you keep asking me this and I can't even remember, but it's something like that.
Not the same thing I asked you last week.
Oh,
So no, I
I
don't.
have to start writing them down.
Well, you always say these things and then you forget when I like you'll say it 87 times and then the one time I want to know what you said, you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
Sorry.
Anyways, I think that breaks down to communication again. Like as an owner, you need to be able to explain that stuff. Look, this is why Sally's getting these opportunities. She did this year, and then I pushed her. She let me push her, and she executed on that stuff. Maybe Sally's not perfect, but she's trying and she's putting forth the effort, and she wants that to be visible for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that opportunity was created for her. It's not that you can't have that opportunity. It's that you'll have to do those things that she did in order to get it.
Right.
If you want, I can help you get to those marks or whatever. That's what a good leader would do. And I think that would solve a lot of the issues that we see or that we hear about.
I was saying the same, like the hard conversations you have to have. And I'll tell you this, most stylists think they're doing all the things. They don't realize they're not. They could look at themselves and compare them to the 3 other people in your business and they're like, I'm doing what they're doing. Most likely they're not if they're not progressing. We had a stylist once come to us and she was mad about different haircut prices. Like, why does Jen's apprentice have a higher haircut price than I do? That's not fair. I've been doing hair longer.
I remember this conversation. I got to have
Yep.
it.
And I'm sorry, that conversation went, my apprentice is technically skilled higher than you are. You have to put in more effort. You don't put the effort in.
It was demand. There was
And demand too, but she was a better hairstylist. She was a better hair cutter. Her haircut should be better. So she had demand and technically was better. That's not easy to say to somebody, but that stylist looked at it as she thought she was better. So you have to have a conversation and it's your responsibility to do that.
Yeah, one of the things I remember this conversation, I had it one-on-one, and then I think we might have had it as a group, Jen, that I think might help people out there is that I told this person to stop focusing on other people and start focusing on themselves because that's what was going to set you apart. That's what was going to get your price point to where you wanted, and that's what was going to build you a clientele. That's what was going to increase your retention, improve your productivity, all those things that we want to see in order to push you for a higher price point is going to come from focusing on yourself, is not going to come from focusing on other people. It's just wasted energy. And unfortunately, that person didn't get it and they're no longer with us. But here we are. We tried, right? But I would still 100% do it the same exact way, even though it didn't work for that person. Look, sometimes it's not going to connect. Sometimes it's not a good fit. Sometimes the person is just not for your team. And that's okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about structure because I think oftentimes people think they're being controlled or quote unquote taken advantage of. I disagree. If you're an employee, you're probably like, my boss wants me to just sit around and wait for walk-ins or wait for the phone. Yes. You're an employee and you've committed to a schedule. What is difficult to understand about that?
And if you want to build, that's the path.
That's the only way. So we do things different at Hello, but it comes with consequences. So if you're somebody that wants to block out your schedule all the time, that's fine. We're honest with you. You're not going to build. You're not going to build quickly. You're going to struggle. There's going to come a point where you have the instinct that you should complain to us. And we're going to go, don't complain because we coached you through this. And we do it. We do it often. When you're just honest with people and you're not concerned with hurting their feelings, look, I don't mean to be rude to people, but you have to use candor.
You have to be direct.
Yeah, you have to tell people the truth or else you're not helping them. What would babying somebody do?
Right.
It would be a form of just what I talked about in my opening take. Let me just make this easier right now, but not show them how to improve it in the future. So that guess what? In 3 months, we can have the same exact conversation. And then I can become frustrated. Yay. Like don't do that. You're not helping your staff and you're not helping yourself in the long run. Staff too. I think you have to take accountability. Look, you want to work 4 hours a week, but you want to make $20,000 a month. It's not going to happen. I don't know
Right.
what to tell you. Something has to change. Either your expectations need to change or you have to be willing to put in more hours. And by putting in more hours, you're going to have to build that time. Let's get real. It's going to take a little bit to build that time. I know in social media land, everyone's like, I can teach you how to make $1 million in 3 months. No, you can't. Shut up. You're a liar. There,
Yeah.
I said it. So stupid. But that's so again, those are the things that people expect. They look on social media, right? And it's a highlight reel of somebody's career. And it's, somebody put in 40 years of work and finally got somewhere. So they show the last 3 months and they go, I can help you
Yeah.
do this because I did this. Yeah, you took 40 years to do it. And then somebody might say, I did it in 2 years. Congratulations. You might be an outlier or you might just be a flat outlier.
Right.
Yeah. Because I've seen that before where somebody claimed something and I asked about numbers and their numbers didn't even close to make sense. And I'm like, that's because you're lying, but nobody thinks to
Right.
call you out because you have a lot of followers on social media. Don't fall for that stuff because this is what's creating friction because you're looking externally instead of looking internally.
Right.
Stay in your salon, stay in your business, stay in your lane, stay in yourself, and then lift people up with you.
Yeah. Focus on your path.
Yeah. So back to structure, like owners have to build systems. They have to hold consistency. They have to hold standards. They have to protect the client experience. And sometimes stylists, that comes across as there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of restrictions. There's like a lack of freedom here. But yeah, I don't think it has to be that way. It just has to be a conversation. This is why we're doing this. So we, again, break down. We're not perfect at Hello by any means, but we break down why we're doing things. Why do we want a client greeted within 5 seconds? Why do we want the check-in process to look like this? Why do we want the checkout process to look like that? We break these things down and we explain them. And we've thought things out to the point where if you're going to question everything that we do, you're not really going to fit in. At a certain point, you have to trust us. Because we've had people on our teams that aren't good fits. And what happens is they question every single thing and they spend so much time trying to poke holes in what's already figured out that they're missing the point. They're not growing. They're not becoming productive. And then they're getting frustrated. And then we have to be like, you can't be here anymore. And that's not something we want. But we put a lot of thought and effort into why the things are the way they are. It's never just because, Todd said that. Or Jen just likes it that way. I can't think of a single thing that's like my personal preference and not based on what I believe a client would want.
Right. Or what's best for the staff.
Or what's best for the staff and what they would want.
We also explain to our staff and those that are listening and you're frustrated that maybe you feel like there are too many rules at your business, but our structure, our systems, our rules actually do the opposite of not giving freedom. They give you all the freedom that you need. Follow these, come in, do good hair, be creative. Now you understand what's expected of you. So as long as you understand the expectations, you have all the freedom to really just enjoy your day and not worry about anything else.
Yeah, that structure's what's becoming frustration for people is because there's too much freedom, maybe. Because a lot of salon owners are like, you can do whatever you want.
It's free for all. Yeah.
They don't know how to quote unquote compete with other models, which is not something that I recommend what you do. I recommend you focus internally, but I have seen it. A lot of people are like, want the freedom of renting without the worry of it or whatever. Come here, it's commission, but you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, that's freedom without structure. And that's going to become your frustration later on down the road.
You'll get burnt out in a second.
Yeah. When you are building a strong business, you're going to put in good systems, and the good systems aren't designed to control people. They're designed to protect the consistency. They're designed to guide the people. They're guardrails.
Yeah. Great way to put it.
This kind of might be a little redundant, but yeah, let's just skip it and move on. We'll go over here. So let's talk about effort. This is a huge one. And you touched on this, I think, Jen, right from the jump, is stylists think I work really hard. I do all this stuff. I do all the hair. And they're right. They do. But then owners think I'm constantly problem solving. I'm constantly trying to protect this business. I'm constantly thinking about you beyond your chair, like taking you to a yoga class. I'm constantly thinking about accountability and all the things that I'm responsible for. And I'm constantly trying to grow this thing so that you guys can have more. And here's the biggest one, the risk. So let's talk about risk. What are stylist risks? Their income,
Sure.
their schedule, commission, clients, that sort of surface level stuff, right?
Yeah.
What are the owner's risks? Payroll, rent, taxes, insurance, legal issues, slow months, reputation, losing the business entirely, being able to eat, being able to get money for their kids to eat. A lot of this stuff I'm joking about, but those are the stresses when you actually own an actual business.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do this you don't want to do this without thinking about it, because you don't want to dump a bunch of stuff on employees and be like, I have to deal with this and this. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, do not do that.
Correct.
Do not tell them that your insurance rates went up, so you have to lower their commission. Do not tell them that it's a slow month, so blah, blah, blah. Don't put that stuff on them. That's not their responsibility. That's your responsibility. I'm not saying that you can't explain those things, but you need to be real careful about how you explain it, or it's just you're going to have a disconnect and you're going to create friction there.
It's not complaining, it's explaining, right? That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. A stylist can have a bad week. An owner can lose their entire business.
Yeah.
Those are two separate things, but those are very valid things to the person that it's happening.
Just going through it.
Yeah. As a business owner who hates when people say as a business owner and just did that, it's stressful because hello is just, it's on Jen and I. Everybody could pack up and leave, and we're responsible for the rent. We're responsible for all the bills. We're responsible for everything that we do, whether it's loans or taxes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And stylists stressing about their bad week, you might look at that and snap at them, or you might look at that and go, how come they don't get it? That's such a small thing. It's not that big of a deal. Look at it through their lens. A bad week might mean they're behind on their rent now, and they're stressed about whether they can go out for their birthday or whatever. Like there's different stresses, and they're very real. Try to remember when you were an employee for somebody, or try to remember when you were a younger age, or try to remember whatever. Try to walk a little bit in their shoes so that you can have these conversations and relate to them. I was talking to somebody recently at our salon who was like, I got into a bad deal and I'm trying to get out of it. And I was like, that's not even that stressful. And I was like, wait, that's not going to help. So then I asked a couple of questions because I've been through stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, here's what you got to do. But yeah, try to have some empathy for people. Oh, this one, Jen, you'll probably like. So this is another communication thing, but small misunderstandings become big problems. People aren't leaving your business because of one giant issue. People aren't angry or upset with you as a business owner or a salon owner because of one giant mistake that you made. And I know we all like to think that we don't make mistakes, but the truth is you make them daily.
I was going to say all the time.
Constantly. And it's usually something that's a small frustration that is repeated. It's something that's unresolved. There's some sort of unresolved tension. Maybe it's between two team members. You have these two coworkers and they just don't get along. Well, you might think, I don't care. That's on them. That's not my responsibility. As long as they cut hair, it is on you. Because that unresolved tension now is going to start to, before you know it, you're like, I have one girl that started a clique. Well, yeah, that's human nature. We group up. We're pack animals. Of course they're going to start cliques because you're not coming in to solve the problem. Where do you think this stuff comes from? The top down.
Yeah.
Unclear expectations. Why do some people get away with certain things and some people don't? That becomes a tension there. And then assumptions. So assumptions is probably one of the worst things that we don't have a lot of problems, but It's one of the worst things that we've dealt with in, I would say, 2025, because we had some big mistakes because people made assumptions, and
Mhm.
that stuff adds up. And it's none of it, I tell you, was malicious. It was people
Right.
trying to help who weren't in their lane, who gave out information that was completely wrong. And then we had to go in and explain to clients why things were completely backwards. And
Mhm.
I don't know why the people did that on our staff other than they were trying to help. There's no way they were trying to screw us up. They weren't like, ha ha ha. They didn't twirl their mustaches that they all say. Like they're the villain. They're twirling their mustache and they're like, I'm going to mess this up for Jen and Todd. No, they were like, I'm going to do this and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to.
And it just created lots of confusion and chaos.
Right. Because they made assumptions. And
Yeah.
that stuff is annoying, but it is what it is. And look, if that's one of the worst of your problems, which it is for us, thank God, because
Yeah.
that's really not, oh, people tried to help you too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, joking aside, you got to start to deal with that stuff because it starts small. It starts with people thinking that kind of bothered me, or someone saying, I really loved that happened, or I assumed they knew. Like I assumed Todd and Jen knew this was happening. Stuff like that. And it's these big problems that started as a small conversation that everyone decided not to have.
Right.
Again,
This
people
is
are,
so important.
yeah, I was just going to say, people are rarely living because of the one big thing. You've said it before, Jen, when the girlfriend or boyfriend gets mad and
Yeah.
freaks out, it's not that they didn't take out the trash. It's all the
Yeah.
little
Everything
things
leading
up to it. And then they're
I
just
use
like,
that analogy with our staff all the time.
yeah, I was
And
hoping.
I think too, so with our staff, like sometimes I'll come to them before they come to me and they're like, you guys just have so much going on. I'm like, first of all, I have more going on than you even understand. But second of all, my job here is to lead you guys. So what's happening? I might see an energy shift or whatever. Something's changed. So I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know I'm asking you. Something seems off. And maybe sometimes I'm wrong. Most often I'm not. And it usually is something very stupid. But to them, it means a lot. And for them just to vent it out. And then my next step is always, do you need my help putting out this fire with whatever's going on? Or you got this and I can remove myself. But those keep the energy in the salon up. But it's our job to be present. And we see it all the time. There's a lot of salon owners are doing hair behind the chair. So they're like, I'm just too busy. You're too busy is going to get you in trouble real quickly. It's my job when I'm in there, and I'm in there more than Todd, a lot of stuff he does behind the scenes to be present for them and take, like Todd said, it might be something that I'm like, is this really a problem? But to them, it's huge. So it's mine to take a minute and just have a conversation with them and sit with them in where they are presently and help them get through that.
And when you do, that's real leadership, by the way, folks. When you do that, is going to save your culture in the long run. Jen, at your last business, you had small problems that you ignored and your business partner ignored. And over time, what did you have? No more small problems. You had culture problems.
Really big ones.
And that's where
we couldn't even get ahead of.
That's where you get into salon owners asking, I have this one girl, she's completely toxic, but she's our highest earner.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of her? I can't take the hit. That's because you didn't have those small little conversations and you didn't deal with those small little problems and you let it creep into your business and you let it take over. Unfortunately.
And the hit's going to come either way.
Right. Unfortunately, what you should do is get rid of that person like before.
Otherwise, your staff's going to get rid of themselves because they don't want to be around that person. That's just how it goes.
Correct.
I don't have a magic 8-ball or a crystal ball, but I can tell you right now, that's how that will go. So you're taking a hit either way. Choose how you want to do it. And honestly, it's better if it comes from you at the top, that you're taking control of the business and you're protecting the culture. That will go a long way with your staff.
I wanted this to be quick, but here we are at like 40 minutes. I have another quick one and then we can wrap up. But I think the best leaders are translating or explaining the why and not just directing.
Absolutely.
Because that's how we do it here is not an answer if you want to be successful. Because that's how it's always been done is not an answer.
That's like saying to your kids, because I said so. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll just go do it then. But you have to explain it.
And this is where great leadership influences the business. It's what we were just talking about. When there's a small problem, we deal with it. We deal with it immediately. Most of the time it's Jen. Sometimes it's been me. A lot of times I do a follow-up. I don't even know if Jen does that, but I'm like, hey, Are we done with that bullshit? You guys over that bullshit yet? And I try to make it lighter and I try to bring some humor to it because that's what I offer.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, back to this. When you explain the why behind things and not just tell people that's how it is, they will buy in.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, they might not be the right fit for your team, and that is okay. But most of the time, I would imagine an intelligent person is going to go, oh, they put some thought into this. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we've bought stock with our staff, our current staff, because they trust us. At this point, we can make probably major changes to our business, and at least half of our staff would go, okay, and shrug their shoulders. Because we've proven to them
Yes.
in the past that the things that we do either work or we'll walk them back.
Right.
We've proven that we're not just going to let the whole thing burn down. We've proven that at the end of the day, we have their back no matter what. So that's where we get buy-in because we've explained the why and we've done all the things and then we walk the walk. So that might be pricing changes, standards, expectations, your commission conversations, your scheduling decisions, any leadership decisions that you make. If you provide clarity with those things, which is, I guess, just the why, when people understand the why, your standards start to feel less like rules and more like a purpose, more like what's guiding you. And I think people
I
buy
think,
in differently when I know for a fact because I've seen it
yeah.
a lot of places. I've seen it at places I've owned and run, and I've seen it in a bunch of different places. But when people, if you want buy-in, if just get the people to understand the reason why you're doing it. We don't
I
just do
always
stuff just cause.
love when a staff member will say, like, when we explain it, like, this is what we're doing, this is why. Some people don't care about the why, but we explain it either way because we want you to understand where we're coming from. And I love it every time this light bulb goes off and they'll go, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, they got it. They understand it. They relate to it. It's most often going to be followed even quicker because there's like, that makes sense. Light bulb goes off. Here's where we're coming from. We can move on.
I like when somebody goes, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then
too.
I usually follow up with, yeah, you don't have to. That's why you have me.
Yeah.
Like, that's my role here is to think of that.
Yeah.
So I thought of that.
Here we are.
Anyways, I'm sure there's a million more things, but I just wanted to do an episode on why there's this disconnection between salon owners and salon employees. And I don't think there needs to be. And I think, again, this goes back to I think you're going to continue to see the separation where you have these tier A salons and businesses, and then you have the rest of the field. And there's nothing right or wrong. It's just the tier A salons separate themselves and they don't have the same level of problems. The problems become, how do I scale this thing? How do I help more people? How do I grow into my community more? Not how do I keep staff? How do I find clients? It's just a different set of problems. Which set of problems do you want? I want to deal with tier A problems, again, which are how do I make more money so that I can improve the lives of our staff? Maybe we want to take a vacation. Maybe we want to improve our lives. Maybe whatever. We want to help out the community in a different way and volunteer more. And that takes people. I need people to do that. So I don't want to have to solve the people problems. So it's up to you, though. I don't know. You have anything else, Jen?
No, that was great. I think it's a great topic. I hope it gives people just some insight on both sides.
Yeah, cool. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm going to go enjoy the day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.